All right, everybody. So today we're going to be just quickly unpacking something in terms of our assessment tasks. So a few of you have been sending through some emails and saying, "Hey, sir, what about these characteristics to do with my family inheritance?" And you being a population geneticist in your assessment task number 1 for the HSC. And I've just wanting to do this video to make sure that you are choosing the right ones, the correct characteristics. So for this topic, as I said before, you could choose simple characteristics with difficult genetics, or you could behind it, or you could use difficult concepts or characteristics that you might have to just go, well, my family doesn't have these disorders or diseases, but if they did, this is who would have it, and this is my family history of it, and this is what it would look like in a Punnett square and a pedigree chart. So it's kind of a difficult concept, but the genetics is easier. So I would always prefer to do that latter one. But I can't specify that and tell you have to do one or the other. I'm just kind of recommending one. So what am I really meaning here? Well, when we talk about simple Mendelian traits, unfortunately, what we taught you in year 9, we have to debunk. And even out on the internet, when you look at inherited characteristics, dominant and recessive traits, unfortunately, we've learned a lot more over the last couple of years due to the Genome Project, knowing, all the small letters that make up DNA. Then we know heaps more than we did 5 years ago. So unfortunately, information that's out there, even professional information, if it's not updated, then it's actually wrong. So I'll give you an example. I just looked up Mendelian traits, or you could look up, human characteristics or genetic characteristics. And if we go down, hey, we don't want to do Mendelian inheritance Wikipedia stuff, but if we keep on going down and see if there's a reference for this information that looks reputable. Look, ask a biologist, and it's an EDU site, so I'll click on that. So yes, definitely ask a biologist. Look, an Arizona State University thing. If I go down, then we see things that you've done that we taught you in year 9 about. A cleft chin, that's dominant recessive, and then we've got dimples and no dimples, and that's dominant recessive, and earlobes, dominant recessive, freckles, and all these things. And you'd go, hey, well, I'm going to just choose 3 of those because they're simple. But if you now look down and then, hey, here's non-Mendelian ones that are a little bit more difficult. Well, actually, if you go down, here's the reference. It's back in 2010, and this person, this biologist, naughty them, from the Arizona Uni, got it from Wikipedia. And actually, it's wrong. So, it's not wrong, but it's outdated. So we now know that a lot of these things aren't dominant and recessive because you can have a few freckles or no freckles and still have these characteristics. Now, it's not to say this is totally wrong. You could use this, but just have a caveat in your report to say, hey, there's more information to know that, free lobes and attached earlobes, there's not 2 groups. There's actually, most people are in between the 2. They don't have free earlobes, they don't have attached earlobes. It's kind of a little bit attached and a little bit free. So there's a scope and scale between that. So if these are kind of not the perfect examples of what we should be using, what are some really good examples? Well, as I said, they're the simple ones with hard genetics. Let's look at the difficult examples with some easy genetics. So here's some simple, hard ones, but with simple genetics. So if you want to, as examples, you don't have to have these in your family, but you could just go, well, if they were in my family, and these are the 3 traits or characteristics you could use if we did have Huntington's disease in it, or Marfan syndromes, or cystic fibrosis, or sickle cell anemia, or this X syndrome, or hemophilia, or this Swiner's syndrome, all those things you could use as examples. So there's some. Now, again, difficult concept, as you can tell. These are all disorders, but they're easy genetics because you can just follow a simple inheritance pattern that they say on the side. And you can look this up. It's Medline Plus. All right, and use that as an example. Another one could be blood groups. Eye color for blue and brown eyes is fairly simple genetics as well. Also, and depends on which one you use. And the other one is... we said albinism. Sorry, is the other one too. All right, I'm going to stop there. hopefully that gives you an idea about how you have certain genetics that could be used. So simple physical characteristics that are easy, an easy thing to identify in your family, you could use for this report. But the genetics is a little bit more difficult, not as clear cut as kind of the simple information you find online might tell you, might seem. Or you can do information examples that are a little bit more difficult and go, well, hey, I don't have Huntington's disease or Abianism or in my family, but I can, or hypothyroidism, or all any of those ones that you might look up. The idea is difficult, but I can still use it as an example in my family and who would have it. And you can make this up; it's perfectly fine, even if it doesn't show up in your family. But the genetics is a little bit easier in those examples. All right, hopefully that gave you an idea to look into and delve into these characteristics and these traits in a little bit more detail. All right.